It was a hot afternoon deep in the forest when Officer Ravi was assigned to patrol the outer edge of the wildlife reserve. The tall trees stretched high above him, casting long shadows over the narrow dirt path. The leaves crunched under his boots as he walked slowly, feeling the heavy silence of the forest around him. Ravi had always loved nature, but today he felt a strange tension in the air, as if something was not right. He held his stick tightly and kept his eyes open. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed movement between the trees. Turning quickly, Ravi was stunned to see a large tiger stepping onto the path. His heart jumped into his throat. Tigers were dangerous and powerful animals, and even though he was trained, facing a tiger alone was not something he had expected. The tiger was huge, its orange and black stripes bright against the brown and green of the forest. But what surprised Ravi most was the tiger's behavior. It was not roaring, not growling, and not preparing to attack. Instead, it walked slowly toward him, its head low, its body language strangely calm. Ravi stood frozen, unsure what to do. Should he run? Should he climb a tree? But the tiger did something completely unexpected. It sat down in front of him, lifted one of its massive paws, and stretched it out as if asking for help. Ravi's mouth fell open. He had never seen anything like this in all his years of service. He looked around, wondering if he was dreaming, but the tiger remained there, waiting patiently. Ravi took a slow step forward, his heart pounding so loud he could hear it in his ears. As he got closer, he could see the tiger's paw clearly. There was something stuck in it, something that looked like a sharp piece of wood or a thorn. The tiger was injured and had come to him for help. Ravi's fear slowly started to melt into a deep feeling of sadness. This great animal, king of the forest, was in pain and was asking a human for help. He realized that running away would have been wrong. He had been chosen to help, and he needed to be brave. Taking a deep breath, Ravi knelt down carefully, keeping his movements slow and gentle so the tiger would not feel threatened. The tiger stayed still, watching him with wide, trusting eyes. Ravi reached out his hand slowly toward the injured paw, whispering soft words to calm the animal. His fingers brushed against the thick fur, feeling the warmth of the tiger's body. He could see now that the sharp piece of wood was deeply stuck in the tiger's paw. Carefully, with steady hands, he began to pull it out. Ravi's fingers trembled slightly as he grabbed the sharp piece of wood sticking out from the tiger's paw. He knew one wrong move could scare the tiger, or even cause it to attack him by accident. But somehow, deep inside, he felt that the tiger trusted him. Carefully, he pulled at the piece of wood, trying not to hurt the animal even more. The tiger flinched a little, but didn't move away. After a few seconds of pulling, Ravi managed to remove the long, sharp piece from the tiger's paw. Blood oozed slowly from the wound, and Ravi quickly tore a piece of cloth from his own uniform to wrap it around the injured paw. His mind was racing. He had not been trained to treat wild animals, and yet here he was, tending to a tiger as if it were a lost dog. As he worked, he spoke softly, telling the tiger that everything was going to be okay. The tiger's eyes never left his face. There was something deep and powerful in those eyes, something that spoke of pain, fear, and hope all at once. Ravi could hardly believe what he was experiencing. When he finished wrapping the paw, the tiger did something even more surprising. It leaned forward and rubbed its massive head gently against Ravi's shoulder, almost like a thank you. Ravi stayed very still, feeling the weight and power of the animal pressing against him. He had heard stories of wild animals showing gratitude, but he had never believed them until now. After a few minutes, the tiger slowly got up, putting weight carefully on its bandaged paw. It gave Ravi one last look, full of meaning, and started walking into the forest. Ravi stood up too, watching it disappear between the trees. He should have felt relieved that the encounter was over, but instead, he felt a strange emptiness. There was something more to this. He could feel it. He couldn't just let the tiger go. His instincts told him to follow. Grabbing his stick, Ravi moved slowly and quietly into the trees, following the tiger's path. The forest grew thicker as he walked, and the sun above became harder to see through the leaves. He could hear the faint sounds of birds and insects, but his focus stayed on the soft marks left by the tiger's paws in the dirt. After about 10 minutes of walking, he heard a soft sound ahead, like a cry. Ravi froze, listening carefully. It was not the sound of a tiger. It was higher, almost like the sound of a baby or a cub. His heart started pounding again, but this time it was not fear. It was curiosity and concern. He moved closer, parting the bushes carefully. What he saw made him gasp. In a small clearing, hidden by thick trees and bushes, there were two tiny tiger cubs. They were weak, thin, and clearly in trouble. One of them was trying to stand but kept falling. Ravi immediately understood. The mother tiger had come to him not just for herself, but for her babies. She needed to be strong to take care of them, but her injury had made it impossible. The tiger sat near her cubs now, looking at Ravi with deep, pleading eyes. She had trusted him once, and now she was trusting him again. Ravi knew he had to help, but he also knew this was a bigger challenge. Saving the cubs would not be easy. He looked around, trying to think fast. He needed to get help, and he needed to do it without frightening the mother tiger. Taking a step back slowly, Ravi whispered a promise to the tiger and her cubs. He would return. He would not leave them to suffer alone. Ravi moved as quickly and quietly as he could to the forest, heading back toward the main path. His mind was racing. He needed to get help for the tiger and her cubs, but he had to do it carefully. If too many people came loudly into the forest, the tiger might feel threatened and attack, or worse, she might run away and leave her cubs behind. As he ran, Ravi reached for his radio. His hands were still shaking from the powerful experience he had just lived through. Pressing the button, he called the wildlife rescue team stationed nearby. "This is Officer Ravi," he said urgently. "I need immediate support at Sector 7. Injured tiger with 2 cubs. Bring the veterinary team and tranquilizers, but approach quietly. I repeat, approach quietly." The response came quickly, promising that help was on the way. Ravi paced back and forth on the dirt road, his boots kicking up small clouds of dust. Every second felt like an hour. What if the tiger moved? What if the cubs got worse while he was gone? He couldn't stop worrying. After what felt like forever, a small team arrived, including a vet, 2 forest rangers, and a wildlife specialist. Ravi quickly explained everything he had seen. The team nodded seriously and began gathering the equipment they would need. Tranquilizer darts were prepared, nets were unfolded, and cages for transporting the animals were unloaded carefully. Ravi led them back to the forest, moving slowly and pointing out the way he had come. When they neared the clearing, he held up his hand to signal for silence. They moved like shadows through the trees, their footsteps barely making a sound. As they approached, Ravi spotted the tiger still lying near her cubs. She lifted her head and looked at them, but she didn't get up. She was weak and tired. The vet raised his tranquilizer gun and aimed carefully. With a soft puff of air, the dart hit the tiger gently in her side. She flinched but didn't roar or attack. Within a few minutes, her breathing slowed, and she lay still, peacefully asleep. The team moved in quickly but respectfully. Ravi watched with awe as they worked together like a machine. They checked the tiger's wound, cleaned it properly, and gave her medicine to prevent infection. Meanwhile, the wildlife specialist carefully picked up the tiny cubs and placed them into a soft, warm carrier. Ravi knelt beside them for a moment, looking at their small faces. Their fur was soft and fluffy, and their eyes were half closed with weakness. He felt a strong connection to them, as if they were somehow trusting him the same way their mother had. Once the mother and cubs were safely secured, the team carried them back to the vehicles. Ravi stayed close, watching every move. He felt a deep responsibility toward them now. They were not just wild animals to him anymore. They were a family that had reached out to a human for help and had given him their trust. As the vehicles started moving toward the reserve's veterinary center, Ravi rode along, looking back at the forest that had given him this unforgettable experience. His heart was full of emotions he couldn't even name. Relief, happiness, sadness, hope, they all mixed together inside him. He knew that this was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning of something much bigger. He was determined to see this through, no matter what. The forest had trusted him with one of its greatest treasures, and he would not let it down. Ravi sat back in the vehicle, feeling the bumps of the road beneath him, and whispered softly, "You're safe now. I promise." When they reached the reserve's veterinary center, the team quickly moved the mother tiger and her cubs inside. The center was a simple but clean building with several large rooms meant for treating injured animals. The air smelled of medicine and fresh hay. Ravi followed closely behind, refusing to leave their side. The vet and his assistants laid the mother tiger on a large padded table and placed the cubs gently in a warm enclosure nearby. The mother's paw was carefully examined again, and the vet stitched the wound neatly while she slept under the soft effects of the tranquilizer. Ravi stood by the window of the room, watching every move. He felt a strong mix of emotions swirling inside him. He had faced his deepest fear in the forest, trusted his instincts, and had been rewarded with something truly magical, the chance to save lives. When the vet finished treating the mother tiger, he came over to Ravi and patted him on the back. "If you hadn't helped her in time, she would not have survived," he said. "And without her, the cubs would have been lost too. You did something incredible today." Ravi nodded quietly, feeling pride rise in his chest. But he also knew it wasn't just him. It was the tiger who had been brave enough to trust a human. She was the true hero. Over the next few days, Ravi visited the veterinary center every morning and every evening. He watched as the mother tiger recovered slowly, gaining strength with each passing hour. The cubs, too, began to grow stronger. They started moving around their enclosure, playfully pawing at each other and making tiny growling sounds. Ravi loved watching them. They were like little balls of energy, full of life and spirit. The bond between the mother and her cubs was beautiful to see. Every time one of the cubs cried out, the mother would lift her head and give a soft rumble of comfort. Sometimes, when Ravi sat quietly by the window, the mother tiger would look at him, her golden eyes calm and peaceful, as if she remembered what it had done for her. It made Ravi's heart feel full every time. The story of Ravi and the tiger spread quickly around the reserve and even reached nearby villages. People were amazed at how a wild tiger had come to a human for help and how Ravi had responded with courage and kindness. Journalists came to interview him, and animal lovers praised his actions. But Ravi didn't care about the fame. For him, the real reward was seeing the tiger family safe and happy. After a month of healing, the vet finally gave good news. The mother tiger was strong enough to return to the wild, and the cubs were healthy and ready to follow her. The reserve officials planned a careful release deep into a protected part of the forest, where they would be safe from poachers and danger. On the day of the release, Ravi stood by the large gate at the edge of the forest. The mother tiger, now fully awake and strong, stepped out of her cage gracefully. The cubs followed closely behind her, their little legs moving quickly to keep up. Ravi watched with tears in his eyes as the tiger stopped for a moment, turned her great head toward him, and looked at him one last time. It was a look filled with gratitude and understanding. Then she turned and disappeared into the trees, her cubs trotting after her. The forest closed around them, hiding them from view, but not from Ravi's heart. As he stood there, feeling the warm sunlight on his face, he realized that sometimes the greatest moments in life happen when we least expect them. A simple act of kindness can create a bond stronger than fear, stronger than differences. Ravi would never forget the day a tiger begged him for help and changed his life forever. He smiled quietly to himself, picked up his walking stick, and turned back toward the path, ready for whatever new adventure the forest would bring next.